Our dragon doesn't eat the girls he takes, no matter what stories they tell outside our valley. We hear them sometimes from travelers passing through. They talk as though we were doing human sacrifice, and he were a real dragon. Of course that's not true. He may be a wizard and immortal, but he's still a man, and our fathers would band together and kill him if he wanted to eat one of us every 10 years. He protects us against the wood, and we're grateful, but not that grateful. He doesn't devour them really. It only feels that way. He takes a girl to his tower, and 10 years later he lets her go. But by then, she's someone different. Her clothes are too fine, and she talks like a courtier, and she's been living along with a man for 10 years, so of course she's ruined, even though the girls all say he never puts a hand on them. What else could they say? And that's not the worst of it, after all. The dragon gives them a purse full of silver for their dowry when he lets them go, so anyone would be happy to marry them, ruined or not. But they don't want to marry anyone. They don't want to stay at all. They forget how to live here, my father said to me once, unexpectedly. I was riding next to him on the seat of the big empty wagon, on our way home after delivering the week's firewood. We lived in Dvernik, which wasn't the biggest village in the valley, or the smallest, or the one nearest the wood. We were 7 miles away. The road took us up over a big hill, though, and at the top on a clear day, you could see along the river all the way to the pale gray strip of burnt earth at the leading edge, and the solid dark wall of trees beyond. The dragon's tower was a long way in the other direction, a piece of white chalk stuck in the base of the western mountains. I was still very small, not more than 5, I think, but I already knew that we didn't talk about the dragon or the girls he took, so it stuck in my head when my father broke the rule. They remember to be afraid, my father said. That was all. Then he clucked to the horses, and they pulled on down the hill and back into the trees. It didn't make much sense to me. We were all afraid of the wood, but our valley was home. How could you leave your home? And yet the girls never came back to stay. The dragon let them out of the tower, and they came back to their families for a little while, for a week or sometimes a month, never much more. Then they took their dowry silver and left. Mostly they would go to Kralia and go to the university. Often as not, they married some city men, and otherwise they became scholars or shopkeepers, although some people did whisper about Jadwiga Bach, who'd been taken 60 years ago, that she became a courtesan and the mistress of a baron and a duke. But by the time I was born, she was just a rich old woman who sent splendid presents to all her grandnieces and nephews, and never came for a visit. So that's hardly like handing your daughter over to be eaten, but it's not a happy thing either. There aren't so many villages in the valley that the chances are very low. He takes only a girl of 17, born between 1 October and the next. There were 11 girls to choose from in my year, and that's worse odds than dice. Everyone says you love a dragon-born girl differently as she gets older. You can't help it, knowing you so easily might lose her. But it wasn't like that for me, for my parents. By the time I was old enough to understand that I might be taken, we all knew he would take Kasha.